What's up, YouTube fans? Today, we're going to take a look at the SND-08 The One, or their version of an IDW-styled Optimus Prime in a retail scale, kind of like Voyager or Leader class size. Now, this figure is actually made in the X-Transbots factory, or appears that way. Here's the box. It does have the X-Transbots sticker here. The packaging, the images that they've taken, the instructions, the plastic baggies, everything is very similar to X-Transbots. So I don't know if this was an acquisition, maybe they acquired this, or if they always owned it, or if it's just made in the same factory, or if Keith is loaning them time. By the way, Keith's Fantasy Club and X-Transbots are the same company, both owned by Keith. And I believe this is just yet another, subline from Keith. Anyway, let's take a look at this guy. And the first thing you're going to notice, I am missing a part. Yes, my hip skirt right here did break off. I will say it's maybe partially user error, but it's definitely a design issue that I'm going to show you. You do want to be careful with this, but it's on a very thin piece of plastic, so you do want to be careful with that. And that's not the only breakage on this figure. And typical with some of the X-Transbot stuff that I review, the look of this guy is phenomenal. They nailed the look of this kind of IDW styled Optimus, both in vehicle mode and robot mode, but the transformation is very, very challenging. And some of the hardware, I question the choices they made. But let's go over this figure and take a look. You do have a little bit of paint on him. The yellows here on the crotch, a little bit of that black paint there. And then I believe the eyes, nope, that's blue plastic. Actually, yeah, I think the rest is all plastic, colored plastic. So either gray, blue, red, or translucent plastic. There are some die-cast rearview mirrors here, which we'll obviously look at when we get to vehicle mode. But other than that, that's it for paint. The rest is plastic on this. Okay, now let's take a look at his articulation. And there are some places where you got to be careful because the articulation isn't necessarily a natural. You kind of have to pay attention to what you're doing. So let's start off with the head. The head itself is on a hinge. It can go up to there, down to there. The neck can go up to there. So you can get it way down or way up like that. Rotates around. No side-to-side movement. The ears can rotate together. Just be careful. They're really tight, but they can rotate together. Shoulder rotates around on a friction joint there. Up to the side, all the way up to there. And there's a cover down piece right here. You have a butterfly joint, gets you over to there and back to there. Pretty deep butterfly. Rotation at the bicep. At a cut joint. You have a double jointed elbow. You have to be careful here. There's this wheel piece. It is meant to bend. If you keep going, it'll pop off like that. Mine hasn't broken, so luckily, but you want to bend the top one first. And that's where I meant it's unnatural. So you got to bend the top first, then bend the bottom. Otherwise, you'll do that pop-off piece. You can also fold this in to his arm, which we're going to do for transformation. And that solves the problem too. But just be aware that you want to watch out for that little black tire piece. You have a rotation at the wrist. You have in and out movement at the wrist, just do the way it's mounted. You have a single joint at the fingers. They move together, and then the thumb is on a ball joint. We do have replacement hands, but those other hands aren't articulated, so we'll just use these for articulation purposes. Coming to the back, you have this backpack here. You can have it configured like this if you want, or you can have a slightly turned. I think this is how it's meant to be in IDW, but your choice. Coming to the waist, you have a waist rotation all the way around. The ab crunch is really kind of strange. You have to kind of hold here and lift the whole thing. It feels really bad, but you can get it up, and it just doesn't feel good. There we go. So there is a double hinge. You can get it way down. I don't like the way it feels, but you can get an ab crunch out of that. So you get quite a bit forward, back, so you can use it. It's just an awkward joint, and it feels not so great. Obviously, I broke this hip skirt, so I'll just show you this one. make sure you move this out of the way and make sure this is clearing the top here. If it's colliding and you move the leg, it will break off. So as you rotate the leg, that hip square will go up to there. There's another joint in his thigh, and it has a cover down piece here, and you get all the way up to there, nice high kick. You just got to be careful with those hip skirts, both on the sides and on the front. You have a rotation at the thigh around a universal. You have a double jointed knee, and sometimes this knee pops out. There's a tighter joint up here, so if you bend that one, then you get the full bend there out of that knee. Top one is tight, the bottom one's a little bit looser. There's a screw though if you need to tighten it. Coming down to the feet, you have tilt in both directions. You have a small toe tilt, a bigger toe tilt, and then the whole foot can tilt back and forward. So you got lots of movement on that foot. Now for his accessories, you get quite a bit here with this guy. So starting off with the hands, you get a bunch of alternating hands. If you don't like these and you want a little bit more posability because it's just got the curled fingers here, just pull it off. It's on a peg. And the articulation is actually in the joint. So you do get these kind of expressive open hands. So you can do that. That's pretty nice. You get the pointing hand here. Optimus got to be point towards battle. And you get a fisted hand. I find this to be kind of useless. Make sure you're using the right one. But to me, that's not really interesting to look at. It's kind of weird. If you're going to put a non-articulated hand on, it should be either the pointing hand or the expressive hand. So going back to the articulated hand, he can hold his weapon, so he gets this blaster. Just done in a black plastic, no paint on it whatsoever. There's pretty much no paint on this figure anywhere other than the yellow I mentioned here. The rest is really just plastic. There you go for that. You can be blasting some Decepticons. You also get his Energon swords. Now these are more IDW styled or even movie styled. Look like this. If you come to the side here, you open up this panel. There's a little slot right here in the side. You can tab in either way. It doesn't really matter. So just get this tab into that and then close this down, and that'll kind of hold it on. And that looks pretty good. You get two of them, so why don't we just put both on so you can see what it looks like. Pretty cool. You also get the Matrix, which of course you got to have a Matrix with an Optimus Prime. Open up these two panels here. Open up this tab there and then this piece here. Those are independent, so just open them separately. And let me just open this a little more so you can see. There's a die-cast Matrix in there, and it's unpainted. It's just silver die-cast. It is very hard to get this out. I've tried, and I don't want to break anything, but I'm assuming this comes out. Yeah, it's just not, it's stuck in there. But I assume that comes out. You have a nice die-cast Matrix. Pretty cool. Close this back up, tab that back in. These doors close down, so make sure you have this pushed in, and it closes around that center piece. In, down. So it should be kind of like compact. And for a quick size comparison, there it is next to the Earthrise Optimus Prime and the Mastermind Creations Optus Pexus, their version of an IDW Stormbringer. And the reason I have this guy here is somebody asked, does it fit in with the MMC reformatted IDW stuff? I don't think so. I think it's a little too small. And people asked, does it fit in with a retail line? Probably. It's a little big, but there's a sense of scale. You can decide where you want to put this guy. All right, now let's get this guy transformed into his vehicle mode. And I will forewarn you, this is an intricate transformation. There's lots of little panels that have to flip and fold. There is some bending of plastic. There are some sliding joints. So it is a challenging transformation. I'm trying to do it all on camera, unless it's repetitive. So just be careful as you're doing this. So start with the arms. Go ahead and open this up. You do need the articulated hands. You can't do this with the posed hands. They won't fit. So rotate it so you have the flat side up. Fold that in. Close that back up. Open up this panel on the outside and just fold that out for now. Take this wheel piece that can fold down and into his arm. I'm going to bend at the elbow. Come to the back here. We're going to lift up on this so it's sticking up like that for the smokestack. Fold this panel down. This pulls out. It's going to rotate to the front. And that's going to fold down. And that's going to end up right here. So you want to have the arm configured so that it ends up inside here. So what you need to do is, actually before we close this, leave this up. And this is what I meant. It's just unnatural kinds of movements, but you want to flatten this elbow. So it's basically at 90 degrees. You can kind of see how this is going to go together, but you should end up with the arm looking like that. Okay. Pull it out on the butterfly joint so it's out of your way. So it should be like that. Now we'll work on the waist. Pull up here, and again, you have to have this whole thing has to move together. It likes to separate here in the middle. So that you have it separated, we can work on this upper body. Come to the back, you can straighten these out. Come to the front, we're going to open up these panels, slide them out so they're all the way out like that. Slide that out. Lift up this panel. This should be unpegged from here. This entire panel is going to lift up and fold back. It's on a double hinge like this, so get it all the way open on the double hinge. Fold this panel down. Fold this panel down. And let's see. We're going to rotate the head 180 degrees. And that's basically how it's going to sit. And then these are going to slide up. So it makes a nice flat roof for later. All right, so leave that for now. Come back to here. And we have to work on this. So you can fold this out. Fold out the front grille. Obviously that's going to make the front of the truck, but just leave that back there. And we have to get all of this unfurled. So open up these little retaining pegs or tabs. That'll allow you to take this, detach it from here, and then you can fold these down. This is somewhat of a familiar movement for Optimus Prime transformation. Rotate the wheel out and slide it forward. That's what locks it. Now, these wheels are probably going to move on you. I'll just be honest. They're going to move on you. All right, now that we have those wheels down, we're going to bring these arms in. So these arms have to fold up and in. Make sure you fold these little retaining tabs underneath into his chest. Now we can bring these arms down. There is a tab right here and a slot on the side of the arm. So make sure you have this folded down so it's flat. I'm going to get this arm in here, and this is one of the harder things because there's so many moving pieces. It's just not fun. Collapse that down, and then this is the important thing. Make sure that tab hits, and it's you're doing it in the blind, so it's hard to see, but it should look like that. It should make its way under there. All right, looks like that. Now this is going to peg into the bottom, and it sits very loosely. It just sits like that. That's it. You know, it's not really anything that's secure. And then this comes down and pegs into the front. So there's not even a tab. It just sits on top. All right. So same on this side. Make sure this is folded all the way front, and that side likes to move on you. So just hold it. This is going to come in. Make sure you get that tab into there. There's so many collisions too. That's the other problem with this. And I'm sure people are going to show this like it's such an easy transformation because they're going to have cuts in their transformation. All right, here we go. Now that you have that, and make sure this wheel stayed slid forward on both sides, right? And then these wheels should end up pegging into the bottom of that arm. And all this should be lined up like this. Now you can bring this down, and this is going to peg into the front. There's this tab here and a tab here. Bring that down, tab that in, tab that in. Gosh, it feels so fragile. And I have to admit that the plastic and the feeling of this as you're transforming it is not good. So just be careful. All right, for the purpose of giving us space, just fold this down and forward. It's going to end up backwards, obviously, but give yourself some room. That's going to maximize the room. And now we'll work on the legs. And we actually did the easy part. So the hard part is the legs. Actually, you know what? We can do this next. So this is going to come around the top. And I think if we, let's see. And this is another place where you have to bend the plastic. So if you rotate these in, you can get it past. This is going to end up down in here. You can fold the ears back just a little bit. And that'll allow you to get it into here. And then this, straighten up the hood or the roof and tab it in to the top. So it should end up looking like that. Right? Now we can work on the legs. So we're going to open this up. This is going to sit back like this. And we want to slide. Why is this not sliding? Come on. Yeah, this is supposed to slide up. It's a very tight joint. Don't hold these. You'll break them. You see how this whole thing slid up? Just don't hold on to this. All right. Take the legs, rotate them back. And now we'll work on the legs. So leave these red panels up on the side. We'll take care of that a little bit later. All right. So starting with the leg, you're going to open up this panel here. It's just tabbed into the back. 2 tabs. Fold this forward. There's a lot of stuff to unfurl here, and it's not intuitive. We're going to unpeg this from here. It's just tabbed in right there. That's going to allow us to take this front panel, unpeg the knee, which is just pegged in right here, open up his hip, fold the knee into the hip, and this is another plastic movement because you got to get it in there. Close up the hip, and it should look like this. This piece has to be unpegged from here, so it's kind of a weird way, but it's on a slider. So that whole thing is going to, let's see, unpeg from here. Now that we have it on this. And you have to slide this up. And here's the slider I have to show you. But right there. Slide it up on that slider. It's very tight. And it's a very thin piece of plastic. So I hate that. I hate that. That's the kind of stuff that drives me insane. Now that you've done that, you can fold this panel down. This is where the thing gets so wacky. Fold this down. And as you're doing that, you're also going to rotate it. It's going to come to the other side. So basically, it was over here, now it's over here. And it's hard to keep this all straight, too, while you're doing it. But take this, and you're going to fold this panel down. I'll give you enough room to rotate that up. Then you take the wheels and rotate them up. And actually, before we put that in, fold that blue panel in, and then fold that up. And it should end up like this, with the wheels on the side. Rotate onto this side, and this is where it's going to end up on the other side of the leg. If that makes sense. Open up here, and this is a problem that I had, and I'll mention this in the final thoughts, but there's a pin screw and a slot, and it came right off. And it's supposed to fit right there. Not very good. And not only that, that pin is a slider. God. It's awful. Anyway, slide that out, and then this is gonna stay upwards. Take your foot, rotate that up, and just leave that there for now. And like I said, I have a broken pin joint there. This is gonna come around and sit like this. And we're going to take this piece here, and this is going to come down, and we have to fold. This has to slide up on this slider. Just leave that off for now. So it ends up like this, and this entire panel is going to come up and over and sit down like this. This panel is going to come down, the foot's going to sit basically flat. You should end up with something like that. And I'll get this on later, it's just going to keep falling off. So, alright, now that we have that, and these legs, by the way, should be sitting flat underneath this hip skirt. Like that. Right. There's a tab on the inside of the thigh, a slot and a tab on the inside of the thigh, so get that tabbed in. Such a pain. You can't even see it. Alright, there you go. My gosh, this thing. Alright, and then the final step on this thigh is to take this panel. There's a tab here and a slot there. It's going to go into here. So it's actually going to sit up and under and push up and in to here. So it should look like that. You can see it's one smokestack now. This will come down, that'll come down, and that's just how it sits. Okay, be mindful of these hip skirts down here too. Remember I said those can break too. These legs will just tab in here. Now if I had this piece not broken, you would have this basically sitting up here, and again you're going to fold that panel in, and you can see kind of how the hitch, there's no actual trailer, but the hitch is going to meet up. Alright, and if you've done it correctly and you don't have it broken like I do, you can tab these in. They should sit flush, but because mine has got that problem, it's going to come apart. Now come to the front here and take this, fold this down. Make sure these are down all the way. These should be kind of flat. That tab is going to go into the side, and it goes around this, which is crazy. Fits like that. Same on this side. Fold this up. Again, goes around that red piece. And there he is in vehicle mode. It actually does look good from the front. You got a little bit of black paint here, yellow, translucent for the glass. This is all broken because I've got that broken piece. Not a fun transformation. The legs are really a nightmare to deal with, and I think that's probably why this piece is broken. It's just there's too many places to move it. These don't necessarily peg in all that well because there's plastic is trying to move around. So you have to have it absolutely perfect for everything to tab in. And just due to the way the tolerances and the overall fitment of this fit and finish, not a perfect fit. I mean, you could probably mess with it a little bit more, but I'm just tired of it. It does roll on these wheels. They're nice rubber tires with plastic white wheels. So that's good. If it did have a trailer, you could probably attach it with this hitch, but I don't have anything that would fit. If you have something like that, you could. But there you go. So final recommendations on the SND-01. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5, unfortunately. I'm not going to recommend this. And let me talk about this. Now, the good things that this thing can do, really nice articulation. You really got a lot going on. You got some really nice accessories, or I guess plenty of accessories. They're not, amazing, but they work. You got the 2 axes, the gun, the alternate hands that are, good looking. You do get this stand adapter, which I find annoying because they don't give you the stand. So how are you supposed to use it? And it doesn't fit with traditional stands. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with it. But other than that, pretty good accessories. But where this falls down is the quality. And unfortunately for X-Transbots, it just continues their record here. Now, I did find out you can pose this double jointed elbow with the wheel in there, but you have to bend the top elbow before you bend the bottom elbow. And the same is kind of true right here. You really have to be careful as you're bending these hip skirts, not only these side ones, but these front ones, because they collide with each other. And that's kind of where the fit and finish of this figure just gets in the way of being a home run, right? It really could have been a home run. I think it's a kind of a fun figure, but this is the quality. Now, if you're not going to transform it, maybe you're okay because it'll probably survive. But if you're going to transform it, I just can't recommend it. I did show you the heel fell off during transformation. It's just on a pin joint that heel just comes off. I have it attached now, but if I go to transform it, it will fall off. So issues like that just keep this from being, a knockout figure. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.